Good morning and welcome to the Stahls TV Morning Show. I'm your host, Josh Ellsworth.
I'm your co-host, Zach Ellsworth.
And today, we're going to be talking about on-site printing.
If you couldn't tell by your poll question at the beginning, and actually, most of you answered that you are not currently decorating on-site. So hopefully we will be able to open your eyes up and maybe make it a little bit more enticing for you to consider that type of decoration.
Excellent. That'll be one of our discussion points today. The other thing that we're looking forward to is having a couple experts come and join us from Stahls TV. That's Mike Koval and Bob Robinson, to share experiences from our grand opening event last week, and ultimately to answer your questions about digital decorating processes. So that'll be the second half of the show.
Yeah, that's right. You guys will actually have an opportunity to chat in your questions during that segment. We'll tell you a little bit more about it when it comes.
Excellent. Let's talk about on-site printing. So first off, before we get deep into the discussion, let's make sure we're all saying the same things here and understanding what exactly we mean by on-site printing. So do you want to take a stab at explaining that to our viewers?
Yeah, sure. So when we're talking about on-site or event printing, it is a really quick turnaround, whether that is immediately, like a customer is getting immediate satisfaction, they're coming up to you, placing their order, getting their garment right there, or just a couple hours later, but it is a limited window on when they can get the style of garment that you have there, the type of decoration that's on it. Basically, it is a one-time experience or a one-time event.
Yeah, so this would be like printing at a dance recital, at a tournament, at a big game, out at the ball field, whatever it might be. This is where customers are actually walking up to your stand, your space, and you're creating the look for them. So to start things off, why in the world would a decorator want to print on-site or at an event?
Yeah, that's a good question, because it seems like it could be a lot of hassle, and if you don't plan properly, it's probably going to be. But the advantage of printing on-site is that you are in the experience, you're at the event, so you can get higher profits on the items that you're selling. It's a convenience fee or an experience fee that basically you can charge on top of these garments. So normally maybe you get $10 for a t-shirt. If you go to a concert or a one-time event, you're going to pay at least double that for a tee, or you can command at least double that for the product.
Yeah, basically buyers are looking to commemorate that event, that experience, whatever it might be, and by doing this on-site, it makes sense. Now, of course, there's the alternative to printing on-site, and that would be just selling on-site with pre-printed inventory. So what do you see as the major difference between printing on-site versus carrying pre-printed inventory, the pros, the cons?
Yeah, pre-printed inventory seems like a lot of risk to me. Event printing in and of itself is probably risky, because especially if you start talking outdoor events, versus indoor events, weather permitting on outdoor things. But pre-printed inventory just sounds like a lot of risk. It sounds like a lot of money up front that I have to invest, and maybe the folks coming by won't like what I have pre-printed. I won't have the right size. A number of different things could go wrong there. Maybe I bought white t-shirts and I should have had black, something to that effect. Seems really risky.
Basically risk in inventory and losing money, or just losing your profit based on inventory that you have to eat after the event that you don't sell.
Correct.
Good. So Stahls has a ton of experience in on-site printing or event printing, and I want to share with you now a video from a New Balance Nationals event where we actually went and customized on-site. You'll see the excitement of these kids really that are looking to get their bag customized, and part of the fun of event printing is just the excitement for somebody to customize their item and ultimately take that home with them at the event. So we'll share that, and then we'll talk more about best practices for event printing.
Sounds good.
Hey, DVD from Sprayground. I'm here at the New Balance National Indoors 2012. We just did a collaboration with New Balance. We made all of their backpacks for this event today. Colors are inspired from the New Balance 800. Really dope bag, inspired by the hell of my name is. All the kids can put their number that they wear on their bib. Really, really cool stuff. All the kids are waiting online 4 stories high to get it customized. Let's go check it out.
A junior at Holy Trinity High School, and I'm competing in the Emerging Elite 800, and I love the bag. I love the new design because it's really bright and it's fun, and it's not just like black and boring.
I'm really excited to get it customized. I'm going to get it designed with runner because I'm a runner.
I got cat daddy. I told you still. From my hometown.
I can't believe we got a bag and we gave me the
with our names on it. I feel it's very special. Get to show off that I was able to come here and experience nationals.
I keep all my track stuff in here, my spikes and all my clothes and my uniforms.
I'm just going to put all my school stuff in there. I bring it to all my track meets. I can fit my spikes in there, everything I need.
That was quite the event. We had some experts from our team go out and customize those backpacks, and a lot of planning went into that event to be able to customize that many bags in that short a window of time. And it was interesting. The line was actually 3 or 4 flights deep for ultimately those kids to come through and get their bags customized, which brings us to some other considerations. But before I get there, I just want to make sure of something that can you just type a yes if you are hearing our audio and seeing us on camera. We just want to confirm that the broadcast is working. So a simple yes in the question box will help us out tremendously. Okay, so quite a few people. So if you're having issues seeing, what I would recommend doing is logging out and logging back in and launching through, not through the web client, correct? But through the actual GoTo webinar.
Yeah. You have to download the application and launch it. You won't be able to see through the web client.
But if you're having issues, we've recorded this and we're seeing success that people have reconnected to get it. So we hope you're all live with us. So let's talk back at the video, sort of some of the key considerations when you're setting up to print at an event or on-site. Where does it start with the pre-planning?
It starts very early on, from inventory to space requirements to electric. I mean, we can talk maybe some details on those types of things, but you mentioned that they were backed up 3 or 4 flights of steps. That's one of the big problems that I see a lot when I go to events, is there's no clear direction as to where lines should form, where you should place orders, where you should pick up orders, so on and so forth, kind of things like that. I think you have an example kind of to show of what it looks like when it goes bad.
Yeah, if you can just flash over here, we'll just show a picture here. So this is obviously a very busy event, which is great news, but the gentleman there heat pressing garments obviously is busy and swarmed with people wanting to order stuff. So staffing is important, clear direction is important, and ultimately barriers. So luckily he has a barrier, a table in between him and the heat press station. Yeah. But other than that, just considering the customer flow and ultimately where are you going to be situated and where are customers going to line up, is the experience going to happen, meaning, you know, where do they place their order, where do they pick up their order. Those should be 2 different spots. It should be a natural flow to get them through the retail environment, if you will.
Yeah, how long it's going to take for you to prepare the order if you are doing full customization. Maybe it's just a name, maybe you have some screen printed transfers that only take 5 seconds to apply and they can pick up immediately. Just clear instructions really important when doing something like that.
Yeah, so not only customer flow, but order flow. What's a customer supposed to do when they come up? And I have a couple quick pictures I'll just flash through now that you can kind of see some of our experience at events. And you know, Stahls is personalized stuff at all-star games, whether it's for NHL or NBA or just in professional sports arenas. So I'll give you sort of a quick hit list of photo highlights and walk through some of this, and then we'll come back. So first, you see some ordering kiosks here on screen. Basically, as soon as you approach the station, which is clearly marked off, you can still see the heat presses in action, which is some of the magic of on-site printing. Customers get to see their item get printed and their name go on it. But you see, order now, there's a very clear call to action that this is where you place your order. Now, if we want to look at this particular photo, this is at an NBA All-Star game. And, you know, what do you see when you look at this photo?
I see ordering kiosks right up front with vinyl cutters beside them. I see 2 different colors of vinyl. I see one set up for white, which looks like it's probably going to go on those dark jerseys, and one set up for black vinyl, which is probably going to go on those white jerseys.
Yeah, so there's a couple conclusions we can draw from that. Number one, notice how the cutters are used to kind of as a barrier, right? And they're facing in towards the operator, but you're still seeing the action as a customer. Also, you clearly understand your choices when you approach it. Customize your all-star jersey, and we see the jersey color selections there. So it's pretty simple. You're going to pick a black or white jersey. The lettering color is going to default based on your jersey selection. So really, we are not giving customers too many choices.
Right.
And perhaps one reason why is because maybe that's how the line gets backed up, when there's too many options and customers can't decide.
Yeah, absolutely. We hear that a lot from our owner, Mr. Ted Stahl. He calls it the paradox of choice, when you have 5, 6, 7 choices, sometimes you actually don't end up making one because it's tough to make that decision when it's way easier if you only have 1 or 2 to choose from.
Yep, absolutely. The other thing I see here is that the heat press is well behind the order space, meaning customers can't come in contact with the heat press in this case. So if heat printing is your technology that's powering customization at an event, it's always a good idea to keep the heat presses in sight, but not within touch, so customers aren't burning themselves.
No, I noticed there's 2 presses there. Do you think that is for volume, or do you think there's different application times, temperature settings that they needed to accommodate for?
It could be either, but it's definitely a consideration when you're picking your transfers or your CAD cut material, whatever you're going to be heat printing at an event. Try to pick something that applies at a similar temperature. That way you don't have to be adjusting your heat press back and forth. All right, let's go over to the next. So here's another sort of best practice is having your staff match and really wear merchandise from the event or that represents your company. So in this case, you see the staff member wearing an all-star shirt, clearly identifying that he is working the event and somebody that you can ask questions to or just looks like part of the team. Also, once again, this is a clear call to action. Customize your own jersey, and then it gives you the steps. Pick it, make it, own it. And this photo is actually some signage at the Dallas Stars arena when this particular store was set up for heat printing customization. So we're kind of sharing some behind-the-scenes looks here of what that setup looked like before customers entered it. So you see, once again, a vinyl cutter with a couple choices of CAD cut material back in the back left corner, a heat press, and then if we go to the next slide, we're seeing a clearly identified sorted inventory by digit and size. So once things get crazy and orders start coming in, somebody is able to maneuver through this space, pick exactly what they need, and create the customization.
Yeah, now do you know if this was an employee selecting from those bins or if it was the retail customer coming in?
This is definitely back of the house employee.
Okay.
So, you know, you'd really have to consider if you want a customer touching the transfers, especially when you talk about perhaps, you know, damaging the adhesive or having an item that's not barcoded that could easily walk away, something like that. So just another consideration.
Okay.
This particular event is an NHL All-Star game, so this is just to point out another consideration. These are air presses, so you got to think about how much capacity, how much you're going to need to turn out over X amount of time, and we can see that we need multiple heat presses here, all of which are operational. And something really interesting, you'll notice how the gentleman in the middle is printing a back print, whereas the lady on the left-hand side of your screen closest to us there is printing a sleeve print. So they're set up with different attachments and platens, almost like an assembly line working through here. And of course, using an air press, you need to make sure you scout out your location, whether or not there's house air, whether you need to take an air compressor in, make sure you're allowed to take an air compressor in, and then, of course, make sure that there's enough power in the facility or out in the field, wherever you're going to be, to operate your heat press.
Yeah, so one of the most important things, kind of moving out of the logistics of actually decorating shirts, is we're saying you can make a lot more money on printing on site, but how do you accept that money from your customers? So what do you think about that?
Well, number one is you want to basically try to reduce your risk as much as possible. So when you're thinking about preferred method of payments or acceptable method of payments, of course cash is king. You always want to accept cash. Make sure you think about the cash box, how you're going to lock it up and guard that. Of course, credit card is always a good way, but in order to accept a credit card, you need to make sure that you have a solution for that, whether that's a square reader that plugs into your phone or your tablet. That's the way I prefer, because then you can accept the credit card right on the spot and realize the money. Check, you know, I probably would not go for a check, because if that bounces, how are you going to track down that customer and get the money, depending on the price of your merchandise?
You probably never would be able to. One of the other advantages to credit card payment processing, especially with Square and some of the other services out there, is you can go back, and when you do the event next year, you have some nice history that you can go back and run reports on when setting up your items for sale. Make sure you set up your SKUs with as much detail as possible, but not too much that it makes it difficult to get through the ordering process. So you can go back and see how many lights or darks or different sizes that you sold of each item.
Yep, I agree, and I believe the website is squareup.com. To get the Square reader, and actually they end up sending it for free, and basically they just charge you a fee on every transaction. Manages your inventory. You can track sales history. Very neat little app to make basically receiving funds on the go, a great way. And that can even be used in your normal business when you're out on a sales call and somebody wants to place an order, just process it there to make sure there's not going to be anything wrong with the payment processing and move forward. So highly recommend that. So let's talk inventory. Okay. So, what's the right amount of inventory? What do you think of the idea of pre-printed transfers versus on-demand cutting? How do I make these choices for setup? Any ideas there?
Yeah, I tend to be a fan of pre-printed transfers unless the event that you're going to, much like the New Balance event that you showed, is highly personalized and everybody's kind of doing the same thing. So everybody wanted, the book bags all look the same, and they had some pre-printed items on it, but they wanted a touch of personalization. So that's a really nice way to go, and you can charge a premium for personalization, but if you are starting with blank garments, I personally prefer the pre-printed transfers for that.
Yeah, I think, at the New Balance event particularly, they leveraged a little bit of both in that they were cutting the name on demand, but they had out of the purple material, and then out of the black material they had the particular event, whether that's, running, hurdling, whatever it might be, already pre-printed to cut down on some of that time in processing. So I'm with you. I prefer pre-printed transfers where possible. It does up your risk. If there's going to be a high volume of customers, pre-printed transfers are the way to go. If it's going to be a little bit more of a trickle through of customers where you have a little bit more time to process orders with your staff or with yourself if you're the only staff member, then I think on-demand's great because, once again, you don't have the risk of pre-printed inventory.
Yeah, some of the best places for pre-printed inventory is large trade show events, car shows. I hear a lot of folks use pre-printed inventory for car shows. They'll have Ford transfers, Chevy transfers, those types of things. Makes a lot of sense there where they can kind of just choose the t-shirt or the cap that they're going to be applying to, but they're identifying with the brand already for the license that the folks have.
Yep, absolutely. So lots of opportunity with on-site or event printing. We hope you'll think about your business and whether or not your particular target market that you're servicing, if there's an opportunity to do on-site printing at these events. And if you have questions, you can always go on to the Stahls TV forum on stahlstv.com and ask those. We'd be happy to take this conversation offline. But I think we have some equipment experts that are dying to talk to us about print technology. So let's go to roundtable talk next. We're here at Roundtable Talk. We shifted in a couple bodies here that are going to help us today. So we have Mike Koval from Stahls Equipment Group, also educator on Stahls TV, and we have Bob Robinson, Stahls TV educator and with Stahls Equipment Group. So you guys had an important role at last week's grand opening event here at Stahls TV, education, which is our purpose, and really helping decorators with a couple different technology sets. So Bob, do you mind sharing with our viewers kind of what you taught on, what your class was about?
Sure. First of all, I'm just excited to be here this morning and rocking the Justin Timberlake headgear. I appreciate that.
Very nice. He looks like Justin.
Happy with that. Justin's dad. Sense. Justin's dad, maybe. Anyway, my portion of the open house, and it was an exciting time. A lot of energy there, a lot of customers, a lot of excitement, eager to get some real good education and just kind of connect with us. It was a good time overall. But my portion of that was on print and cut, and it was never say no or stop saying no to your customers. And it really just offered a lot of solutions to your current customers, whether it be heat transfer for apparel or bags, accessories, all the other things, the real versatility that the print and cut could offer.
Okay, excellent. And Mike, want to hear about your session in a second here, but first, just to our viewing audience, if you have any questions now about digital printing technologies, as we're talking through, if questions come up, please feel free to type them into the question box, and we're going to get to those at the end and make sure we ask our experts those questions. So Mike, your class, what did you cover at the grand opening?
Well, I covered sublimation printing, like to echo Bob's comments as well, the excitement that the open house generated. It was a great time. My focus was on sublimation, just basically covering the whole process, how it works, what it does, what it's good for. And it was nice talking to these customers about it because there were a few that did it, but some of them did not. So talking to those who didn't, it was nice, opening that up to them, what it could bring to them as far as, what you could decorate from apparel to hard goods, but also some unique decorating options, with sublimating glitter flake for full color glitter, as well as sublimating tackle twill for doing a full color applique.
Now there was a really cool word that told me as you were preparing for that class last week. Do you remember what it was?
It
what
was
the term was?
It was endothermic reaction.
Ooh.
Okay, that's what sublimation actually is.
Yes.
I love when
Is
it
an
talks like
endothermic
that.
reaction. So, for those of our viewers who don't know what the sublimation process is, and you just hear the word, it's basically the ink on a piece of paper turning directly from a solid into a gas, becoming part of the shirt, and then resolidifying, basically. So the ink actually goes into the shirt, and you can't feel it at all.
Yeah, and it is a special dedicated ink for the process.
Yeah.
Now, Bob, just to jump back to you for a second, what types of shops do you see investing in print cut, or that were interested in print cut?
Yeah, there is really a big variety of types of shops investing in print and cut. It's really anyone who wants to offer full color with short runs, and basically no screen charges, no artwork charges, not a whole lot of prerequisites to produce full color. Screen printers, yeah, it's kind of an obvious thing because it costs a lot. It's a lot of effort for a screen printer to set up jobs for multiple colors, and when you get into shorter runs, then it's not cost effective at all. So yeah, screen printers would probably be number one, but anybody really who really wants to add full color onto just about anything is really the key customer here.
Okay, excellent. And Mike, how about you with sublimation? What type of shops do you see typically investing in sublimation?
I think it's much along the lines of Bob, or really for anybody for that matter who has a heat press could quickly and easily add sublimation. With a small desktop printer, you already have the heat press, some papers, so it's a nice way to offer full color, in short run and customization. So
now with sublimation, there's a critical thing about the garment as opposed to print cut, that it's primarily polyester content.
Yeah, polyester and white or light colors. Is the limitations, but the advantages are obviously full color, as well as the hand and the durability of a sublimation transfer, which Zach was saying, it basically bonds in with the polyester fabric or polymer coating of a hard good, which is essentially making that decoration permanent. That's never going to go away.
Okay, I guess this is for anybody. Do you see it being a wise investment for shops that have neither today to jump into print cut as well as sublimation together? Do you ever see a shop investing in both digital technologies at once? How do they play off each other? How do they fit together?
Everybody's looking at me, so I guess I'll take this one.
Yeah, talk for a while. It's your turn.
Yeah, no, I personally wouldn't recommend doing both at the same time, just because there is a learning curve on both, and it's a little bit different learning curve from the artwork that's required, whether it's vector versus raster artwork, from the types of items that you can print, and even on the application times of all the materials that you're going to be using. It's nice to get in with one, understand it completely, find out who your customer base is for it, start making money off of it, and then move to the next one. That's just my personal opinion. I don't like to bite off more than I can chew right up front, and I think that would be biting off more than you could chew.
I do like moving to the next one part, though. I mean, don't say this is what I do, it's all I can do. Ultimately, being able to offer everything is a great goal. But I agree. Doing like all four of the major types of printing, I would probably take them one at a time.
And I mean, if it's a question as to whether it's going to make sense for you if you have the market for it, this is one of those things, kind of like event printing. You can order the transfers both ways with the technology and accomplish it with just the heat press that you already have, just to test market it and see if it's going to work for you.
Okay, and so there is a sort of third wheel to this digital printing.
Yeah.
There's sublimation, there's print cut, two ways to create digital graphics, full color logos onto apparel, and then there's direct to garment printing, which has had the headlines now for the better part of 5 years. Where does DTG play into this for a decorator? What should they be considering?
I think it is it's limited the same way that sublimation is. I think DTG or direct to garment printing makes a lot of sense if your primary customer or your target customer is decorating 100% cotton t-shirts. That's what the prints look best on. 100% cotton. Can it apply to some other things? Sure. Are people making it work? Absolutely. But the easy money is in the 100% cotton t-shirt with a direct to garment printer. So if that's your primary market, that would actually be the way that I would recommend you go instead of sublimation or print cut. Each has its own, limitations and advantages. Print cut, versatility; sublimation, performance polyester, and polymer coated hard goods. Depends on your market.
It makes sense if you are controlling your inventory and what your SKUs are, what you're selling. I'm an online store. You design online. I'm offering you 100% cotton T-shirt, and you're now controlling that. So yeah, you're not really reacting to a customer's requirements or needs.
Okay. Just quick check-in. Any questions coming in from the viewing audience, Joe? Okay.
I have one question that came in concerning sublimation printing. Teresa is going to be getting a printer, and she wanted to know how sublimation handles seams and collars. She comments that there's a new trend with printing around the collar. She wants to know, is it possible to do that when the T-shirts are already sewn?
All right, let me rephrase that in case you guys aren't hearing that come through on an audio. Basically, sublimation printing around seams and collars. There's some trending stuff there. Anything to watch out for? Is it possible? Who wants to chime in there to help Teresa out?
Anybody can. That's fine. It's possible. It's absolutely possible. So things to watch out for with since sublimation turns into the gas, it's actually a lot more possible and what's the word? Less restrictive, because the gas can move into different parts of the shirt. So when you're dealing with seams and collars, you can absolutely sublimate over those. Obviously, take one, test it out, see what it's going to look like if your customer is going to like the finished look, but it will be quite different finish than what a print cut's going to be, where you're placing a film over that seam or that collar.
Okay, and then, yeah, the thing that comes to mind for me is where sublimation sort of fails, if I can use that word, is when you're doing an assembled shirt and sublimating the full thing and you get creasing underneath the sort of armpit area. But that's not, it's just because the ink isn't getting there, the gas isn't getting there because it's creased and folded over. But as far as in the seam structure, in the collar, absolutely, the gas will penetrate that and you'll get a really cool look. So yeah, I think it's a viable technology to explore if that's a trend that you're looking to reach.
Yeah, and just talking about trends with sublimation printing, one of the other things that I saw folks doing that we were introduced to at the Printwear show in Indianapolis, there were lots of people who were printing on darker shirts that were polyester based, just because they like the faded look, because that's essentially what happens to the ink as it fades into the shirt the darker that it is. So they found a nice medium range shirt and got a nice faded look, the ones that you see in retail. So that's something to consider as well.
We had somebody in my class who brought up that same point. They were doing a lot of dark grays, for that washed out look with sublimation. So
good. Yeah, so don't be confined to the box that technology has put in. Explore it. Watch StahlsTV.com, where you can get a lot more education on each of these printing processes, as well as many more. And just to kind of close things off, anything else that Bob or Mike that you guys would like to leave with our viewers this morning as a result of the grand opening, the open house, or on these technology sets in general?
Had a great time, that's for sure, educating the customers, who didn't know some things about decoration. So it's always nice opening that up to people, for sure. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah, we just appreciate the opportunity to be able to connect a little bit further. Sometimes it's a little difficult to really, not say build a relationship over the phone, but having dinner with some folks and really enjoying each other's company was huge, and we really appreciate it.
Yeah, it was a little bit of fun to not be a salesman for a change, every once in a while. So.
All right, well, you can come on the Stahls TV morning show anytime and not be a salesman. Yeah. But we want to thank those that have been our loyal attenders to the show. I see many familiar names on the board. Thank you for always coming back. We appreciate the questions that were typed in. For those that we didn't get to in this session, we'll make sure we get back to you or post them on the Stahls TV forum. This has been the Stahls TV morning show. Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next week.